Hey friends, Nicole here. It is time to do a sketchbook walkthrough. I haven't done one of these for quite a while, so grab a cup of tea, sit down, and take a peek inside my sketchbooks. I'll start off with my watercolor journal. This is by Speedball. It's a handbook journal company under the brand of Speedball. It's a watercolor album. I love the panorama layout of this one. I think it's what, like 4 by 8 inches approximately. Anyways, I think this one looks beautiful when you tape off the edges. I'd be meaning to buy some skinnier tape though, so I have less of a border. I mean, the big white border is pretty, but a little skinny border would also be nice. So here I have a landscape. It's just done with watercolor and Neocolor and then some gold accent. So a nice sort of meditative piece to do. This one is more of a sort of traditional watercolor landscape. I was thinking about the estuary here in Comox, the grasses that you get along the estuary. I've put a little bit of gold in there, and then the dark skies of late winter, the moody storms and the islands of the Salish Sea. This one I have another YouTube video about. I painted this on Valentine's Day, and it was just sort of a moment of self-care. I was just working with colors that I don't usually work with, like pinks and violets. And it's a mixture of watercolor and Neocolor and pencil. And then for a little while there, I was getting into this sort of color blocking. I always think of a teacher I had at Cap College named Marcus Bocott, and he said to work with the grid. Also Nancy, she would say to work with the grid when you get a little bit lost. And so you can see that I have these flowy watercolors, but then I also have some more formal design, right? Like these hard edges, you know, here and here. And then a little bit of pencil play, some made-up writing here. So this one is a beautiful album to work with. I also have the larger size of it. Let's see what's new in here. I can't remember how long ago I did this page. This is watercolor and Neocolor. I was just really going for it. You can see the splashes off the edge. I was trying to get that movement by doing quick brush work and some layering with a Neocolor II pastel. This is a page that I did in a workshop. Well, I'm a part of a membership with Rachel Rose. You can find her on Instagram. It's a therapeutic art group that I'm in. I love being led by another artist. And this was done earlier this year. It says yes and so it's just a really mindful process. Rachel's wonderful. She gives us prompts, and then the visual design of it is really up to us where we take that prompt. So this one, yeah, watercolor with a little bit of black pen work. This one is for the Season of Liberation with Get Messy. So this was the season opener. We had a live Zoom call and enjoyed working together. I don't often do big bold letters in my journal, so this was a really fun page to use some wilder colors, some acrylic ink, which I haven't used for a while, and then Neocolor II pastels and watercolor and pen work. Looks like some paint pen as well. It's just fun to go bright for spring. And then this page, this one was done with Rachel Rose as well. This was making a map of sorts with emotions, and then I have my different thoughts on naming the places and the emotions. So I kind of wish that these pages weren't side by side in the book. Maybe I'll put a white page in between because they both are strong in their own way, and it's nice to see them on their own. But I'm also trying to make the most of my sketchbooks and journals so that I can use both sides of the page. Another watercolor album that I enjoy is this tiny one. I think maybe 4 by 5. I should really check the sizes before I share with you. This one got abandoned on the shelf for a little while, but I love it. This is Hahnemühle. I've started using this size instead of the Moleskine sketchbooks. I just really enjoyed this size and setup. My daughters are always collecting stickers, but they don't do anything with them, so I stole one of my daughter's stickers to mark off the cover here. Helps me keep track of which book is which. So typically I do watercolor in here because it's a watercolor album. Let's see, where's the new stuff? Oh, I can't remember how old this one is. A little watercolor abstract exploration. This one was playing around with this idea of landscape, being a bit more fun and playful with it. A little less controlled, went right to the edges. You can see that I've also got another YouTube video where I'm working on this style of painting. This is one that I started and then I didn't do anything else to. It's very simple. I love the way the dark color bled the wet into wet, and I thought about doing more, but then just left it as it was. Some pages are like that. Do I think it's a complete painting? I'm not really sure, probably not, but you know, sometimes we're leaving these little breadcrumbs for ourselves in our journals and our sketchbooks, where I can look back through the sketchbook and see this and remind myself that this is a style that I enjoy, and I can try to replicate it in a future painting. So don't think that everything has to be finished. It does not. And there's some kind of pastel wedged in there. I think I shared this one in another YouTube video talking about, you know, connecting with your own style versus copying tutorials, which are wonderful, but also finding yourself in the work. So this was a page that felt like me. This was a page where I was working with a tutorial, and it didn't, although I like it, it didn't feel as much me. And then again, working with this sort of grid style of color exploration, some line work, probably a watercolor pencil crayon, my iridescent beam paints here. I feel like this page might have gotten forgotten about. Feels like it could use some words, but you know, I often struggle to decide whether to add more or not. Sometimes sticking something on top feels like it's too formal or too wrapped up to finish off the page. And other times putting on some words or, you know, adding a tree or a bird or something feels just right. So this one I just left. I encourage you to go back to your pages. Don't feel like you have to be precious about them. You can go back and work in again. Or you can also, like I said, just leave them as a breadcrumb for the next project. And I think that's almost the end of this book. I'll have to be getting a new one of these. This is another speedball sketchbook, but this one is not designed for watercolor, although I do put water media into it. It has this nice fabric cover, nice square format, which I love. So it's Handbook Journal Company, made by Speedball Art. And this one has tons of, you know, just everything, writing, sketching, a little bit of collage work. So let's see what's new. I feel like since I last shared, probably this one, this is a little bit of watercolor. It makes the pages buckle, but that doesn't mean you can't use watercolor in it. A little bit of nature journaling in the backyard. Some line work in the backyard. Again, just trying to get myself outside and drawing. This is from back in January. An imaginary landscape done as almost a continuous line drawing. Pencil wreath. I love just doodling a little imaginary wreath when I want to get my hand moving, but I'm not sure what to draw. This one was from the art therapy group. I had a drawing and some poetry and watercolor. Another loose landscape, so be sure to check out that other video where I'm doing a larger page like this. Again, playing with that black gesso. I was saying at the beginning of the year that I really love using the black. It's just such a strong contrast. And look at it in the book. It just really makes it jump out. And I added some iridescent, which looks great on the black. So I did this background. I didn't really know where it was going. And then I put the black on top to carve out the line of the mountains. Quick landscape sketch. It's got a wonky horizon. So little landscape minis. This was a piece of paper it's a book page with some jelly print on it and some black gesso, and I found it in my stash and I glued it down because I just love the brush stroke across it, and I'm not sure if I'm doing something else with it or not, so I've just left this page for now. This is a fun little page using these markers. I've really gotten into these Tombows. They're water-based. They're really fun to work with. You can use them dry or you can wet them down. Wetted down, they'd work better in a watercolor sketchbook. A little bit of an unfinished landscape and the remains of a page. Okay, I almost never do this, but I cut out a page. I can't remember what it was, but it was irritating me and it's my book, so I decided to do it. I usually encourage people to keep everything, to look back through the good, the bad, the ugly, but I ripped it out. Very, very simple page. I quite like this one. It's just done with water-soluble pencil, a Stabilo all pencil in black. and I was going through some pain. I have ongoing pain from a concussion I had a few years ago, and I found this line here that says how impossible it is to, and then the second line says to quiet the pain. I often do this when I'm doing found poetry. I make the mistake of having a word twice because I cut out the little strips and they're sitting in a bowl and then I arrange them. So I have two twice, but that actually kind of works with the feeling of pain and injury and making mistakes. So how impossible it is to quiet the pain. Little landscape doodle. This was done in February. I went out on a snowy day and it's not the best drawing, but I like how it captures the feeling of the day. I went down to Comox Bay and I was drawing the snow on the logs. A big plop of watery snow dropped here and I brushed off the page and it smeared the pencil, which is kind of cool. And then I wanted to write a haiku and I often make a mistake on counting. So I've come up with a system where I do the little dots for the syllables and then I write the words underneath. I wrote, frozen white icing laid thick upon the beach logs, slumping in the sun. Well, I'm not sure if I did the numbers right or not, but anyways. Again, using the Tombows and some iridescent paint and pencil. I'm really trying to get into pencil work again. I don't do pencil sketches, but I love the way the pencil lines look with the watercolor, the pencil being the top tool instead of the first tool. A rich landscape here, quite abstract, working with black gesso, Neocolor II pastel, pencil, and a bit of watercolor. I like that gold in there. You can kind of see it. I think that one is the gold Neocolor II pastel. Back to this color block work that I was exploring. I find when I don't know what to do, it's nice to have sort of some kind of framework for the work. So if I'm not creating something that is recognizable, you know, I often do sort of abstract landscapes, but this was very soothing and calming. I was just doing both wet and dry patches of color, layering them on top of each other. So this is mostly Neocolor II pastel, probably a little bit of watercolor pencil crayon, and then I'm looking around in my studio for them, but I don't see them. I've got these big chunky Stabilo all pencils. Here, I'm just going to grab one. These chunky pencils too. You might look at them and think that they are for kids. They're called woodies. They are great for kids. You can even draw on the windows with them, but I think they are great for journaling. More abstract landscape with these kind of bolder colors than my typical palette. This page, I found a mushroom that I painted quite a while ago with watercolor, and I was thinking about gluing it on, but I can't quite decide, so I've just attached it with a paper clip for now. Oh, and let's see, is anything else in this book? Oh, and a sort of abstract page. This one looks like, I think I'm going to come back to it. It was quite wet. Like I said, you're not supposed to really use paints in this kind of drawing journal. They do soak through the back, but that's how it goes for me. I like this combo of wet and dry. So I've layered it up and I think it was too wet to do anything else on. So now that it's dry, I can come back in and do some writing or some drawing on top of it.